How's it going, everybody? Joe with Total Justice Gaming. We are back officially with our first deck profile featuring cards from the new Titan Masters Attack set. As is what now I consider tradition with the channel, we'll be starting things off with tanks. More specifically, Decepticon tanks, as I am a very much Decepticon loyalist with this game. A little bit has changed. We are now pure Decepticons in what is, I guess we can now consider 4 wide as opposed to 3 wide. We swapped out Impactor with Sky Shadow Tank. We have the brand new Megatron, which I really, really like. Uh, Kreb as Megatron's head in this, and of course, Demolisher, because what tank deck wouldn't be a tank deck without Demolisher these days? Running everything down, Sky Shadow Tank is a 4-10-2. He has tough 2. We're not reliant on that tough in this deck. This is an orange-black deck, although the black is only minuscule in this. There's still enough to say that we do get a decent amount of pierce through in this deck. Furthermore, he is a tank, and he is ranged. He has no alt mode, and we will not. The goal is not to be transforming into these giant combiner. Demolisher, for those unfamiliar with it, he is ranged in a tank. He is a 3/7/3 that says when you flip to this mode, draw 1 card for each of your other tanks. In bot mode, he is melee. He has 0 attack, 7 health, 4 defense, and says when attacking, flip extra battle cards equal to his defense. This can deal a ridiculous amount of damage very, very quickly if left unchecked. We do have a lot of defense options in this deck, as my version of tanks is very armor focused. And while I feel a lot are, mine continues to evolve to just make the decks have a harder static defense rather than go through a lot of tricks to go through stuff. Set 5 made that even easier with the coming of Emergency Barricade and Ghost Armor. So Demolisher will be swinging for quite a bit of damage on this. Sometimes up to 11 damage, and if you have Crushing Treads, he then becomes 11 damage, 7 pierce. So just for that. Finally, we have a new Megatron, which is Titan Master Megatron. Titan Master Megatron in tank mode. He is a leader. He is a tank. He has range. He is a 4/15/3. That says when this defends and you flip at least 1 orange, do 1 damage to the attacker after the battle. He is an 11-star character. We are packing along Kreb as the head to make Megatron a 17 health, which that is nothing to sneeze at. Kreb himself is a 2/02 Titan Master Melee. Megatron in body mode is a 5/15/2. With Kreb on him, he is a 5/17/2. That says when you flip to this mode, you get +2 attack until end of turn. So with Megatron, and I have play tested this, I got to test against Isaac. Isaac was building a variant off of Stefan's Fortress Maximus Fort Max deck. Very rarely did Megatron ever leave his alt mode, which was my plan from the start. I am honestly not too thrilled with body mode Megatron's ability. His stats are fine, but I see him being much more put to use in alt mode, especially with the ability to be able to do retaliatory free damage. Every time he's swung upon, he's usually my first attacker. Because he has a solid defense at 3. With 17 health, he can take a hit right off the bat and keep going. There are a couple times I can say you can put him into body mode. That's usually when he has a weapon that makes him an 8. Because then by giving him +3 attack, he's an 8. He's a 10 attack. Then plus your swings, you'll probably be swinging for anywhere between 12 upwards to possibly 16 damage. So while body mode does have its uses. I'm just not sold on it, and I think the tank mode is where he needs to stay. Unless, of course, you're equipped with a weapon or you're going to be using that body mode to swing and kill. Moving into the battle deck, we have going to go into the armors first, because armors is what really makes up this deck. We, of course, have composite armor. Let me zoom in here. And there we go. So, composite armor is an orange-black that gives +1 attack, +3 damage. It's only tanks. When the upgraded character defends, scrap this card after the battle. If you've flipped at least one black in that battle, do 1 damage. So, it boosts mostly everybody up to a 6 defense. It gives everybody a damage boost. With Demolisher, that means you're going to be able to flip 7 extra cards because his defense is 7. On top of that, it actually does give him a small damage bump of +1. It gives anybody armed with composite armor the new Titan Master Megatron's ability, so long as you flip an a black. Equipping it on a Megatron, and you happen to flip an orange-black, meaning you get to shoot whatever's attacking you for 2 free damage, which 2 free damage on the opponent's turn, pretty good. So we're running 3 of that. We are running 3 emergency barricades. Emergency barricade just came out of the new set. It's an orange that, much like Ghost Armor, composite armor, falls off at the end of defensive combat, but it's also +3, so we can slap it on to Demolisher, hit for 7. Slap it on to Sky Shadow Tank and make him a 5. Megatron becomes a 6 defense. So these defensive maneuvers make the tanks being able to stick around quite a while. Demolisher, in particular, is very fragile, so he needs to be armored up almost at all times. I'm looking into maybe thinking about tossing in some health boosting into this deck too. I'll have to look and see what I can figure out. But we are going to be running 3 barricades. We're running 2 ghost armors in case they try to scrap out of combat. My armors that protects me. I'm only running 2 of them right now. I'm trying to see where I can cut down, because ghost armor does have conditions to equipping it. You have to already have an armor. Play this only to replace an armor on a character that has an empty armor slot. Play only to replace an armor on a character that has no empty armor slot. Excuse me. So you've already got to replace a +3 with +3. I mean, you can replace both of the other 2 because they fall off at the end of combat. To make the +3 a permanent increase until they play a card that scraps your equipment. I really don't know, because you're going to be able to put armor onto things so easily in this deck. I only really wanted to actually use the bottom ability that says, if an opponent's card would cause this to be scrapped from a character, you may scrap an armor from your hand instead. So this prevents, makes the opponent waste a resource, and you can pitch one of your armors to keep this on the character. I really, like I said, because it has a condition of if it's replacing another armor, I really don't see that as needed, which is why I'm only running 2 of it. Plus, we have alternative ways of just putting the armor on him. Running 3 copies of Improvised Shield. I'm, of course, going to be running the new ones. It's our double orange. It's a tough one, and this one has Megatron on it. And it's a Decepticon deck, so I just tossed it in there. Weapon-wise, we are running 3 copies of Grenade Launcher. I don't think I need to speak too much to Grenade Launcher. It's +4 attack and falls off at the end of turn. This is one of the cards that I would put onto Megatron that I would then transform him into body mode. That would mean he would become a 4, 9, 11 attack character for a single turn, and then hopefully find some way to get him back into alt mode very, very quickly. We are running 3 of that. We are running 3 Power Punch because that gives us bold 3. Enough said about that. We are running 2 copies of Fusion Borer. Fusion Borer is our another version of Grenade Launcher. It gives us Pierce 3 and plus 3, so we are guaranteed to get decent damage through. Like I said, it does fall off like Grenade Launcher, but one-time use for Pierce 3 plus 3, that's pretty decent. We're running 3 copies of Crushing Treads. Crushing Tread lets me put an insane amount of pressure on the opponent by giving my cons Pierce equal to their defensive rating. When I get everybody armored up or already have an armor on them and I'm lucky enough to pull into this, I can drop this and usually get Pierce 6 or Pierce 5 on any of my cons, and that's a good chunk of damage the opponent has no choice but to take. So we are definitely going to be running that. We are running 3 copies of Hunker Down. This lets me flip all my characters from bot mode to tank mode. While this does seem pointless in this deck because I have only one character that can go into bot mode, this does let me trigger Demolisher's ability to swing on a turn should he live the next turn via his high armor defense. I'm able to play this, flip him into bot mode, or flip him into alt mode. I can then flip Megatron into body mode for whatever reason and still get Demolisher's ability off, which lets me draw cards. On top of that, it lets me upgrade my tanks with armors out of the scrap pile for free if they do not have any armor on them. That is the only reason Hunker Down is still in the deck, is because it lets me get free equips and trigger Demolisher's ability. Other than that, the card has decreased in value somewhat in the deck because we have one tank that doesn't transform at all. We have one tank that no longer transforms into bot mode. He transforms into body mode. Were it not for the ability to upgrade for free, I would pretty much be dropping this card. We are running 3 copies of Wedge Formation. Wedge Formation lets me repair a melee. It gives me some light repair on Demolisher. It's not really used for that. It's mostly used for the free card draw we get because we have almost all ranged. We have no specialist, so it's there. This is also another orange-black. We're running 3 copies of Head-On Collision because 2 of our cons are going to be remaining in alt mode the majority of the time. This is just a static +3 attack for them. With Sky Shadow Tank, that's really valuable because that means he's hitting for 7 statically. That means I can hit anywhere between 9 to 11 attack based on my flips, if not more. Depending on what weapon I have equipped to him or if I hit a white. So Head-On Collision got into this deck because the deck fundamentally changed to mostly alt mode attacks aside from Demolisher. We have 3 copies of Hold the Line. It's one of the new cards out of Titan Master Attacks. We are running this because when a character defends, I get to repair damage from the defender, and it can take more damage than the number of battle stars of that attacker. Now that Bold and Pierce are so prevalent in this set, especially the amount of damage that's being output now, because Orange definitely made a big, heavier push to where Blue needs to catch up again. But now Pierce is everywhere in this. I needed more ways to repair. Yes, it's only 1 damage, but it's still worth it. Then they say I can't take attack damage from this battle. So even if they have an outrageous amount of Pierce, outrageous amount of Pierce and attack, if it exceeds their star level, I can't take that amount of damage, meaning my cons are safe from that attack. Will I still take damage? Yes, but if they exceed their star cost, with a lot of the bodies being Very minimal star cost. Not a whole lot. I like. We're still going to be in the 9 and 10s, which that will blow Demolisher out of the water. But with a higher um, armor rating, we do get to limit the amount of damage we are having coming in. I will say, however, Hold the Line absolutely does nothing against Titans like Fort Max. Learned that the hard way. Running 2 copies of Fight for Position. This gives us Bold 2. It's also an orange-black. It's also got one of my favorite cons on there with Sinister. Running 2 copies of Magnetic Defunction Ray. It's also an orange-black. Do 1 damage to everybody, and then do 1 damage to each Autobot. So 1 damage to me, potentially 2 damage to every character on your opposing field, or a couple of characters in the opposing field, or sometimes just 1 damage to everybody. Either way, you're getting a pretty decent amount of damage out there. If they have an Autobot, then you're bonusing yourself even more. Yes, we are going to be taking some damage. For the most part, Demolisher is the only one you really got to worry about. And then 2 copies of Belligerence. Belligerence is there to make sure that you're going to be able to deal the most damage possible by making your opponent's blues become oranges, meaning they get no defensive combat bonus whatsoever. So that makes me be able to hit big numbers. I will, of course, include the printed deck list and the links over on Fortress Maximus, which I use religiously. The deck has 32 oranges, 3 blues, 6 whites, 6 oranges, and 12 blacks out of the deck. We are running 18 actions, 8 weapons, 11 armors, and 3 utilities. I am thinking about maybe dropping 2 of the actions to put in Power Cell to give more health bonuses, and maybe swapping Ghost Shield with Emergency Barricade a little more to see how that plays out. We did some initial testing the other night with Isaac. I was very fortunate. I won both matches against the Fort Max deck. Demolisher got in really heavy hits against Max before he died, and then it literally came down to Flameout versus Kreb and Sky Shadow Tank, and I got to win that round. Guys, thanks so much for watching. We do have deck profiles coming out more and more because I'm able to build again. This set is nothing short of fantastic. Please feel free to leave any comments, like the video, hit the chats. I love chatting with you guys. I really do. So thanks so much for watching. All hail Megatron.